The cataclysm of Port Royal, the earthquake and tsunami of 1692, the morning of June 7th, 1692, dawned like any other in Port Royal, Jamaica. The sun rose lazily over the Caribbean Sea, casting a golden glow on the bustling pirate haven, a town infamous for its debauchery, wealth, and sin. Ships bobbed in the harbor, their sails furled, while merchants hawked their wares in the crowded streets. Taverns overflowed with sailors, privateers, and ne'er-do-wells, their laughter and raucous songs spilling into the air. Port Royal, the wickedest city on earth, was alive with its usual chaos. But beneath the surface, deep within the bowels of the earth, a force of unimaginable power was stirring. At precisely 11:43 a.m., the ground began to tremble. At first, it was a faint shudder, a mere ripple that caused glasses to clink and chandeliers to sway. But within seconds, the tremor grew into a violent convulsion. The earth roared as if awakened from a slumber, and the streets of Port Royal heaved like the deck of a storm-tossed ship. Buildings swayed precariously, their foundations groaning under the strain. The air was filled with the cacophony of collapsing structures, splintering wood, and the panicked screams of the town's inhabitants. The earthquake, estimated at a magnitude of 7.5, struck with relentless fury. The ground split open, swallowing people whole as they fled in terror. Entire streets disappeared into gaping fissures, their depths swallowing homes, shops, and taverns. The sea, once calm and inviting, began to churn ominously. The harbor waters receded dramatically, leaving ships stranded on the exposed seabed, their hulls creaking as they tilted precariously. Fish flopped helplessly on the wet sand, and the townsfolk stared in stunned silence at the unnatural sight. But the horror was far from over. As the earthquake subsided, a deafening roar echoed across the bay. The sea, having retreated, now surged back with unimaginable force. A monstrous wall of water, a tsunami, raced toward the shore, its crest towering over the town. The wave crashed into Port Royal with the fury of 1,000 tempests, obliterating everything in its path. Ships were lifted like toys and hurled into the streets, smashing through buildings and crushing those who had survived the initial quake. The water surged inland, sweeping away people, animals, and debris in its relentless advance. The once thriving town was reduced to a watery grave. Entire neighborhoods were submerged, their rooftops barely visible above the churning waves. Bodies floated amidst the wreckage, their lifeless eyes staring skyward. Survivors clung to debris, their cries for help drowned out by the roar of the receding waves. The tsunami retreated as quickly as it had come, leaving behind a scene of utter devastation. The streets were littered with shattered timbers, broken glass, and the remnants of lives once lived. The air was thick with the stench of salt water, mud, and death. In the aftermath, the survivors wandered through the ruins in a daze, their faces etched with shock and despair. The once proud town of Port Royal, a symbol of wealth and excess, had been reduced to a broken shell. Over 2/3 of the town had sunk beneath the sea, and thousands had perished in the disaster. The earthquake and tsunami had not only destroyed a city, but had also struck a blow to the very heart of the Caribbean's pirate empire. For days, the survivors scavenged for food and fresh water, their spirits broken by the scale of the catastrophe. The clergy, who had long warned of divine retribution for the town's sinful ways, declared the disaster a punishment from God. The survivors, many of whom had once reveled in their wickedness, now knelt in prayer, their voices trembling with fear and remorse. The Port Royal earthquake and tsunami of 1692 became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of nature's power and the fragility of human existence. The once great pirate haven never fully recovered, its glory forever buried beneath the waves. To this day, the ruins of Port Royal lie submerged, a silent testament to the day the earth shook, the sea rose, and a city of sin was swallowed by the depths.